Good day, everybody. Welcome to today's video. Today's video, I'm going to show you a quick and dirty way of showing you how to do the ball joints in a Jeep TJ. Now, I'm bypassing all this stuff, removing the wheel hub, the brakes, all that, because if you can't remove those, you won't be able to do the ball joints. Plain and simple. Not trying to be rude. That's just the way it is. I have a more detailed video on my channel, but I'm trying something else out that show you a quick and dirty method because, excuse me, because some people don't want to watch a whole video that's 20 minutes long. They just want to keep it short and simple. So you need a ball joint kit. You got to remove the cotter pin from the nuts. Remove the nut from the upper ball joint, remove the cotter pin from the bottom ball joint, and remove the nut from it. So I'm just doing it by hand, breaking free by hand, and then I'm going to spin them out. Now this is kind of be the trick part coming up. I like to leave the nuts on with a few threads. That way when I knock it off, it's not going to go flying. And usually, most times, you can just take a hammer and knock it free. But for some reason, these are on there super tight. So I'm using my tie rod separator right there to get it in there. And I found, wedge it in there, give it a couple of beats. You see all the rust go flying. I managed to drop it down and then remove it. That part's done. Now time to remove the ball joints. Using your ball joint tool, you got to do the top one first. You got to extract the top one in order to get the bottom one out. So, however orientation of the cups works for you, you just got to make sure the cup isn't overlapping the ball joint, so it's not going to press against the ball joints coming out. I just use the hammer to tap it out. Then I got the press set up on the bottom one, and I'm able to use my impact and push it straight out the bottom. Here's another view for those who want a better picture of removing the top one. Taking it nice and slow, doing it by hand because they're usually in there pretty good. And impact might put too much stress on that C and snap the tool, which could be dangerous. That's why I like to do it by hand, because then I can feel how tight it is and kind of gauge the tension. That ball joint came out easier. Didn't have to take a hammer and pop it out. Once again, set it up on the bottom one. I can use the impact on the bottom one, and you can see all the rust go flying. That part's done. Now we're gonna press the ball joint in. So I just set it in at the bottom, trying to find my orientation of my cups. So you put them in the reverse way. You gotta start by putting in the bottom one in first. So I'm just setting up the tool, doing it by hand, cranking her in. And once you get tight, double check the bottom, make sure that the flange of the ball joint is flush, and then you can remove it and go and do the next one. There's another view of doing the bottom one. You can see it compresses down, double checking, make sure it's flush. Away we go. Bottom one's in. Now we're going to do the top one. I like to use a compound seal if they've been in and out a few times, because the hole gets bigger and the sleeve compound keeps it locked in place. So I'm just adjusting my tool to get that upper ball joint in, trying to find a setup that's going to work, and this setup's going to work. Double check my alignment, of course, go by hand. My arm's in the way, I apologize, and getting it down into place, checking the depth, making sure that's flush. And there's another view of doing the top one. Better view for all the people. Like to see the B-roll? Like to see the B-roll. Alright, remove the ball joint press. It is in place. Now you can finish it off. Put that on, put your nuts on. I like to put them both on loose, tighten them up by hand. And of course you want to torque them up and bottom to the proper spec. The upper and lower have different torque specs. You want to pay attention to that. Make sure they're torqued down. And of course, once they're torqued down to place, you got to put your cotter pin in, uppers and lowers, and then you're done. And then reassemble everything. Hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. I'll see you guys in the next one.